Susan Harrington, 45 Spruce Lane. I wanted to bring up the topic of the body-worn cameras. It came up organically this evening, but and I wanted to bring your attention to a very timely recent article. This is on the New York Times Sunday magazine about issues with body-worn cameras. And while this article dealt largely with fatal shootings by police officers across the country, I think there's lessons we can learn from this. And I just want to bring it to your attention because, as you know, what we're going to do with this footage once we have it is something we have to think about now. And in community after community, when there are fatal shootings, the footage, for the most part, does not see the light of day. And the reason why is because the police department controls it. And when it is finally litigated and released, it most often does not match up with the narrative that the police department was providing about what happened. That could be because they released an edited version of the footage or didn't release any footage at all. And your job as the select board is to provide civilian oversight of the police department. And I have heard at these meetings repeatedly that you don't tell the police how to do their job. So that leaves me feeling very uneasy about this. And let me just say, I'm very much in favor of body-worn cameras. I just think we have to be thoughtful about how we use them. This is a quote from a former deputy commissioner to the New York City Police Department. And he says, mayors, city council members, all locally elected officials should be losing sleep over the lack of meaningful, independent oversight of police. This isn't Canton. This is every single police department across this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I recoup her 57 seconds?
And tell them this is what you're looking for. This is what we want.
Because he came back pretty firm, pretty authoritarian, saying that he
there's
is.
opposition on both sides, which would actually, which is actually be good for this committee because you want opposite views. So why don't you reach out to Mr. McCarthy?
I will.
And then at this point, I think we should just put something together and then we'll start working from there. Going from there.
I do appreciate that. And I will reach out to him. He hasn't been very receptive, but I will reach out to him and I'll give it another shot.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to say, so the process is that, oh, I'm sorry, my name is Susan Harrington.
Yeah.
The process here is that we're going to mail out to the 303 people who signed the petition to select the 2 people on this committee of 5 that were in favor of. Who's to say if they actually voted for the audit at town meeting, but they voted to put it up for a vote for audit.
Right.
What is the process for selecting the other 2 members at large? Are we going to mail out cards to every person who didn't sign the audit and select from them? I mean, it's so lopsided and weird. It makes no sense.
Excuse me, I'm sorry for interrupting. What is the composition of this board, of this committee?
You have the 2 and 2. The chair, the one that Mr. Scollins delegated, then that chair appoints 2 citizens at large, we'll call them, and then 2 from the petitioners.
Okay, so there it is right there. So,
But that does not make any
but
sense.
that's the way the article is written. Am I correct?
No, this whole vote, we're going to poll the petitioners. That is not in the language of the article. This is the whole reason we're upset. This is something that Bob McCarthy has fabricated as the process, and it's crazy.
You don't have the authority to change. Mr. McCarthy has to make the decision. So I think that you were right to ask Rita to reach out to Bob directly and have that conversation.
So he's now the king of this process, and no matter how many people disagree with it, it's just whatever he says goes. That's your position. I just want to understand.
The way the article was written and the way that it was voted at town meeting, this board doesn't have the authority to undo town meeting.
It's hard to see. I can read it.
So
In Canton resident. First, I want to say that I flat out condemn social media bullying, particularly of young adults. I understand that it's been rampant and it is not okay whatsoever. I have a few comments related to the state of Canton and the renewal of Chief Rafferty's contract. I also want to urge the thousands of Canton residents watching this trial and select board meetings from home to please attend these meetings and write to the select board. This is particularly for the 903 who voted for the independent audit in November. The email address is bos@town.canton.ma.us. The select board will soon decide whether to extend or renew our police chief's contract, or instead begin a search for a new chief. To many of us, this decision will represent either complacency with the status quo or a fresh start. Chief Rafferty has dedicated 30 plus years to Canton, and we are thankful for this service in her role as acting chief and now chief. In recent years, she's presided over what we now know to be a botched response to at least one homicide. She's also dispatched officers in ways that pose potential civil rights violations. As any organization, the leader is the role model. In this room last August, she doubled down on her stance about the O'Keefe case when she emphatically stated that there was no cover-up. This was well before the trial began, and town officials have been restricted from commenting about details, let alone their take about the ultimate outcome. Most important, what concerns so many of us is that regardless of who the defendant is or could have been, the police response was so poor that those missteps alone could warrant enough doubt to cripple any prosecution. I fear that they may never be justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Part of what makes a great community is strong relationships, but people are elected as leaders and charged with making tough decisions that require that those friendships at times be set aside for the good of the town. This is one of those times. We won't have the police audit findings and recommendations until next year, but we can assume in the meantime that without new outside leadership, we will continue to have more of the same, he's a great guy, responses to concerns. And this is the status quo that risks equal protection, safety, and costly lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington.